I'm Sean Arnold from Brave in the Attempt, sharing a previously recorded webinar. We're going to explore how Microsoft Teams can be used for teaching classes remotely with students. All right, so here we go. Oh, I forgot to share. There you go. All right, and open up that chat, and there that is, and let's move that over there. All right, so essentially I'm going to use Pear Deck again. If you guys haven't seen me do Pear Deck before, I'm going to do it instructor paste because we're doing this live. But Pear Deck is just a way that you can get feedback while you're presenting easily, well. Nearpod does this too. So does Smart Learning Suite Online. So does ClassFlow. I like the simplicity of Pear Deck a lot of the time simply because it integrates really well with Google Slides. But if you're looking for something that's more like the sort of interactive displays you use in the classroom, then probably Smart Learning Suite Online, or, and I'm going to paste this in the chat, or ClassFlow from Promethean is there. The link that I'm pasting now will help you join the Pear Deck if you would like. Ah, okay. Well, let me go ahead and share the link to this session again, Era, and maybe there's a way that you could show it on the screen over there. Here's the meeting ID number. I'm going to type that in here, and they can just go into, what is it
Sean,
called?
I actually couldn't join this session without leaving the other. I tried several times.
You know what? I can. So you guys go ahead and join that Pear Deck, and I'm going to hop onto that other session that was weirdly going on. If I can remember what the link to it was, because I deleted those links, and get those other people into the right place.
So are we just hanging out?
Yeah, just for a moment.
Okay.
Let me join that one. Boom. Open it. And if you've gone and joined that Pear Deck, then you're set, and we're going to get rolling. Join.
This translator isn't working.
You know what I think, Walter? I think it's because we have the headphones in. I think the translator needs to hear. It needs to hear.
Oh, really?
I think so.
If anyone here was looking to join the afternoon session of Microsoft Teams with accessibility, the link is in the chat, but I will also show you the Zoom code on the screen right now. So if anybody in this session is attempting to join that, because I think the links were mistaken on some of the screens, here is that code. It is 662-487-347. I will try to make it bigger right now, but if you go to the D75 STEM site and click on those links directly, they should be correct. I think some of the citywide ones, when they got copied, were not correct. So here is that Zoom link also for those of you who are trying to join that, and then that meeting is starting right now. If you want to, you can open up Zoom and type in this code that you see below you, 662-487-347. All right? Sure. 487-347. All right. Hey, are you guys still hearing me? You heard me talking to those people? There were several there. They got that info. I'm admitting them, and we're going to get rolling. And now I'm going to share my screen again. All right. So that's the screen I want to share. And once again, in the chat is the links to the agenda, as well as the link to this Pear Deck. If you want to see that on the screen one more time again, it's joinpd.com and that. But here is that Pear Deck link once again in the chat. So you can join me, participate, and here is the link for the agenda and all the resources. There you go. All right, let's get rolling. So Microsoft Teams, it's just a big collaboration space, and it's supposed to skip that slide. Here is that agenda link again, bit.ly D75 Teams, capital letters matter. That will be the most important thing I share here. Other than that, let's just get moving along. For those of you who did join the Pear Deck yet, go ahead and let me know, what is your current stress level today? I know yesterday we probably just got some news about your spring break not being quite as long as you expected it to be, so maybe some of those are not as hot as you were hoping. So go ahead, give me your stress level check right now. Why is this not opening up? All right. Some midway, some feeling a little more stressed about this stuff than others. All right. Thank you guys for checking in. Yeah, I didn't expect it would be as high as some of the ratings we got on Monday or Tuesday. As the week progresses, these things seem to get a little more intense, but that's to be expected. All right, let's move forward. Also linked in there, if you guys want to play conference call Pingo as we go. There's already been a few mistakes. Was I on mute? Was I on another session? That's linked in the agenda. Feel free to play along. But here's some big global considerations on the note of accessibility. In New York City alone, I think it's estimated over 800 languages are spoken. We're going to get into some language stuff. Just understanding a general rule, people with a disability is the largest minority category that exists. And it is a minority category that if you live long enough, you're probably going to become part of it, because your hearing, your eyesight, your mobility will start to deteriorate a little bit over time if you live long enough to get there. So just note that a lot of these resources and things we're making available for students with disabilities, for people with language challenges, are also things that are going to work for all of us at some point. So it's good to peek in. Here are the categories in which a lot of that goes. You guys are probably relatively familiar with this. Neural is also where you'll find certain anxiety disorders and things like that, which are huge in this particular time frame, things that we need to address with our students. We're all going through some stressful moments right now. Understand that some of our students have family members who are service providers working in healthcare, still working as garbage pickup and stuff, and are still at risk. Other ones already have family members who are ill or struggling, or coworkers who are. I know some of us fit into that category. So let's be mindful of that and all that we're doing. Here's some of the tools we're going to go through. Yes, we're going to jump into Teams, but I'm also going to share some of these accessibility features that are built right into it. Things like Office Lens, things like Immersive Reader, things like translation, auto-generated text, and ways that when you guys, if you are a teacher or if you're a coach, when you're creating documents, you should make sure that they remain accessible. So I'll show you that accessibility checker that exists inside of there as well. But ultimately, it's about empowering the kids, right? So let's forge ahead. Let's begin. I'm going to show you some visualizations, and then I'm going to open Teams and show you live how some of this stuff looks, all right? Just so we get an idea, I have linked in there this whole quick start guide for Teams that we put together. So it lets you know what that layout is, where you can find everything, how everything is managed. This might have way too much stuff on it, and you might get confused by that. Don't stress. I'm going to go through things slowly. Let's go back. It starts, we sign in, we pick or create a team, we can have a conversation, we can go ahead and have a meeting like the one we're doing now. We can make video calls, we can make audio calls, we can get specific people's attention, we can reply just like in social media, make it fun with memes and such. We can also have a whole assignment category for us as adults with jobs, or for students too, so that they can stay on top of what's necessary, what they need to get taken care of. And we can work together and collaborate on documents and tools and more complex applications too. All right, So let me, actually, one last little piece. Search is huge in it, but one thing to keep in mind about search is that it depends on where you are about what it's searching. All right. So if you're in a team, it's only searching things in that team. If you're in a chat, it's only searching things in that chat. All right. So let me go ahead and open up my Microsoft Teams window. And I am going to, stop sharing that screen and start sharing this other screen. All right, this one right here. Here you go. So when we start, we're likely here, showing all this activity. I try to catch up on most of it, but I keep getting tons of questions throughout the day. We're not going to dive into those, but here is where we find our teams. This is where we want to start. Your team, not to be confused with all these other things on the side, which I'll get to, is just your hub for collaboration and communication for a particular group. All right. These teams can be professional learning communities. They can be chat groups. They can be student focused, and they can be classrooms. Right now, we're going to focus on what it is among staff rather than the student zone, but that's a possibility too, and it functions very similarly to Google Classroom. So if I want to go ahead and start a team, it is just that big button on the top, and actually I'm going to zoom in so this is all easier to see. And I'm going to go back. Joining a team, boom. I will hit create team. I can choose the style of it. Again, class is more student focused. PLC is for a general learning community that exists within the DOE. Staff is more administrator, staff below them focused. Right now I'm going to make a PLC. We're just going to call this test team. I'm going to leave this private, but you also have the option to leave it open. If you've created groups and other things before, you can go ahead and use an existing Office group, but we're just going to go ahead, create that team. Who should be in this group? I'm going to put you in it right now, Lothar. Thank you very much. Oh, it didn't like you right now. Let's retry that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, you know what? It's not you, Lothar. We're going to add Liz.
Oh,
For some reason, I don't know why that is. We might just be bogged down. Maybe it's because you're in other things. Okay, now you're in it. You're in it too. I don't know why that was. Lothar, because you're so special, I'm going to make you an owner of this team. That just gives him more control than other people. So here's my team. Sweet. All right. That wasn't too hard. We logged in. One important thing to keep in mind is this is the application that I'm using. Yes, you can log in using the web, using either Chrome or Firefox or Edge, but the app version itself works better. And yes, there's an app version for your Android or iPhone or iPad. Those work well too. Have almost entirely the same full feature set that you'll find in the computer level app. So I've created a team. I told you about the types of teams. If I hadn't added all my members yet, there's a couple ways to do that. If I click on this little button here, I'm going to zoom a little more so that's easier to see. That looks like a little kebab with 3 dots. I can add more members over here. So if I also decided I wanted Greg in this, actually, let's make it Era. She's actually here. Era. Thank you, Era. There you go. Boom. She's a member of my team. And I can do that, though that might not be the easiest way for you, especially if it's a public team. You can just go ahead and get a link to that team, throw that in an email or something, or post it somewhere, and then people can join it. If it's a private team, all that's going to happen is it'll still let those people join it. You're just going to get a notification every time somebody does to approve them or not approve them. All right?
Hey, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen also people have a code to a team. Is that different than the link?
This whole thing at the end is essentially the code.
Huh, because Laura Louis-Jacques created a team for us and sent people, it was just like a 5-character code that she told people.
It's a team inside of Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, it was.
Or it's inside of Google Classroom or something else?
No, it was Microsoft.
Okay.
Huh,
I mean, yeah, you can, there's a shorter code here. I'm going to go ahead and make it public. So yeah, it can be a shorter code in a public one. Let's go ahead and make it public. But it's still essentially taking them to that same link area. People can join via that code. For example, here, I'll share it with you in a second after it saves those changes. Well, that's taken a while. And the internet loves us. So yes, that first area I showed you while this loads does have a place where I showed you how to say join or create team. If you click that and you choose join, it does have a place where you can type in that code. To get that code, you'd simply go into the editing area. And did my teams just die on me, or is it taking that long to save my changes?
Sorry,
gonna-
my question cut.
No. Your question killed my teams. Oh no. I'm going to go ahead and reopen Teams and share that up on my screen again. Yep. There you go. Let's admit that in. Your question killed the team. But in that, I will say in that area where it says join, you can find, while I'm waiting for this to open again, there is an area where you can find the settings for the team, and it gives you the code under the settings. And I'm going to show the settings in just a second. Now that this is reopened, here we go. Share Teams.
Hey, Sean, this is Kara. I just wanted to point
Go ahead.
something out on the screen, maybe for some of these guys. Sometimes when I get a little bit confused in Teams, it's because I'm just in one team. You see that little button that says all teams on the top left with an arrow? So it's good, yes. That's where all the teams are. And a lot of times when I don't know where I am, it's because I just need to go back there and then I can see everything. And that left sidebar is also something I use a lot. So for all of these online meetings, or most of them, I've been using my calendar. And I think that's I recommend.
Yeah, I'm going to be popping over to calendar in a little bit to show how to create them. Yeah. So there's generally 5 different ways to do things inside of any group. But if I want to go ahead, let's go back. Oop, that's not the team I wanted. Sorry. I wanted to go into this weird generic team. And if in this team, I wanted to go ahead and edit it, and these settings are actually kind of important, and I'll show this for a moment. Here I can adjust guest permissions and member permissions. So if guests join this team, what are they allowed to do? If I'm an administrator holding this team, do I want, to block access for certain people to participate in certain ways in this team? I can. If I want to share that team code, here's where that is in the settings. So I can generate that code, and there it is. And somebody could just type that in. So yes, that is a third way to do it. Of course, that requires people to know how to get into Teams and type that in. So I usually just prefer to send them the link, because that just they'll click on it and it'll take them there. That's a little bit more accessible for me. Is this going to be super professional and I want to turn off all this fun goodies stuff? Yeah, I can turn that off too. So that settings zone here is how you get to all that. You just go to manage team and go to settings. The other key piece in Teams, before we get into all this other fun stuff on the side, is something called channels. Yes, we always have a general channel. I can add more channels. So if I want a channel focused on party planning, I can go ahead and create that. And so these are like breakout groups. And so sessions on those types of categories, anything we put in here on that particular topic can be stored solely there. Okay? And
Hey,
so
Sean, I'm going to chime in again.
Yeah, go
here.
ahead.
So one of the confusing things about this, about the channels, is that they're not all, you don't see them all unless you choose to see them all. So for example, in our D75 office team.
Oh, let's go there and I'll show it.
Yeah, there's quite a few channels in there and you have to force it to.
So these are hidden. If I want them to be seen, but I'm not in math and science, I could click over here and click this show button. I could right now actually hide Plant, Learn, Grow, because I'm not, doing that mostly. And actually, you'll notice that that's a team that I locked down, and only certain people are allowed to be members of Plant, Learn, Grow. And that would basically just be Greg, Kara, and Era. right? So nobody else is bothering and posting stuff there. But there's all this information that scrolls through the team. I don't think everybody needs to see that. I'm going to go ahead back to this testing. But those are what those channels function as focus zones and areas for your types of conversations. And they can be based around anything. They can be for classes based around certain subject areas. They can be based around just particular ideas. Like for us, you saw Plant, Learn, Grow, STEM team, etc. Things like the STEM fair. So that's what channels are. They're like little breakout groups. They can be private breakout groups too. So anyone can, everyone except guests. If I create a new channel that's specific to 6 to 1-to-1 classes. Oh, sorry, that's right. No colons.
So things can also get easily buried in there. And I would say maybe if you guys are just starting out, don't add a whole bunch of channels.
Don't make tons of breakout rooms if people aren't even using your general channel yet. And most of the stuff that's to the broad group is all going to stay there in the general channel. Although I will say in certain teams, for example, no one except for the leader has access to the general channel because they don't want it being shared broadly. So in the citywide Spock team, which has tons of tech stuff, people have conversations in different little areas, but nobody except for the main posters put it in the general channel because they don't want things getting lost. And this conversation area, which I think you guys are familiar with, you know how to have a chat, you know how to add fun pictures and memes, and all that kind of stuff. Things can get lost in here very easily as things stream down. The best way to fix that is important things go up in what are called tabs here at the top. So this plus button lets you create tabs for specific things. So if I, for example, wanted the document, which is a Google Doc, the agenda for this session in there, I could simply paste that link in there, save that, and you'll see now living there at the top, easy for everybody in this group to find, is this agenda. Always there, always easily available. If they're documents like that, they can easily be put in a website. They have all sorts of other things is here as well. You can insert a form if you're trying to take a survey regularly, a spreadsheet for data, Flipgrid obviously for chats. Here's a big place though, for when we're collaborating on files, we can throw anything in there, ones that have already existed, something like this that I'm just dragging over from my desktop, or this sort of image that I'm dragging in. And if it's a picture, it lives here for everybody to see and work on together. We get to see all the Microsoft Learning Tools availability, or we can check out my weekly log, which is a document that now is editable for all of us. So I could go ahead and start a conversation about this with somebody, and we can chat about what needs to be completed inside of here, or we can go ahead and open it up in the desktop app or in the browser to edit it. Here's the easiest way though, if you're starting from scratch, just go ahead, click up new, maybe a new document, test doc, and create it. Once we're in there, everybody who's a part of this team, or if I created it in a channel, everybody who's a part of that channel can go ahead and come on and edit and leave comments or have a conversation about it. So I'm going to say hello. I'm actually even going to talk about it. Lotar,
Yes.
make sure to fill. No, you don't actually have to do this. This is just fake banter.
Yeah.
Make sure you.
I'm just saying, I'm still listening.
Fill out the sheet, your portion. That's something I don't have to put in the actual document, but that's a message to him to remind him to do it. Also, while I'm in the document, and I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste some stuff from somewhere else. Right here. It's just so we have some text. Now, here's some of the interesting things that happens to make these documents more accessible. Yes, they're collaborative because we can work on together. Yes, we can have that conversation on the side. Yes, I can click this microphone up here and dictate if it likes what I'm doing inside
Yeah,
of.
do it in Chinese.
But why? Yeah, let's
The
see how my
first one
Chinese
is
doing.
Chinese.
Although the fact that I'm sharing the screen and not doing it inside of this microphone with something else might make that a little wonky on me right now. So that might be why it's not working for me at the moment.
Okay.
And I'd have to turn you guys all off and not listen to me to make that work. But that's where you'll find that. Here also is where you can find inside the view 2 really important features. First is this Immersive Reader, which I'll share with you in a second. And the next is the accessibility checker. So this document is pretty good. Everything's accessible. But what if I went and I dragged a photo in there? Oops. Actually, let's go ahead and just insert the photo. Picture from my computer. And one of the keys, if you're not familiar with making your documents accessible, you should be adding alt text for photos. You should be adding headers for each of your, actually, it's not bad. Let's do that. No. We're gonna use this document. This one right here. That's the one I want. And there you go. Insert. All right. Let's recheck, see what it says now. I expect we're going to have an issue because that picture I haven't put alt text in. Although one really nice thing that Windows does is, especially in PowerPoints, it automatically starts inserting alternative text into your elements. But I can go ahead and adjust this and insert my, and translate it, and insert my alt text. If I can't recall how to do that, it does give you instructions here when each of your errors is available. So simply clicking on it will take you to that item itself, which is right there. And now I can add alt text, give it a title, superheroes. And descriptions, don't ever write picture of or image of. So I'm gonna say Superman handing cape to a doctor. And there's my alt text. So now if I were to scan that again, it should be good. This is a key way to make sure that your documents are accessible. Each of these shouldn't just be changing fonts and stuff here at the top. You should actually use header settings and use these heading titles as you go down, because that's what's going to make it accessible for people who are using screen readers to look at it. And then this other accessibility piece under view is this called Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader gives us this, which suddenly, and I'm going to take my headphones out so you can hear it.
Click activity on the left. The feed shows you all your notifications and everything that's happened lately in the channels.
All right. I can adjust that text size. I can adjust the color. I have it in Comic Sans because that's really good for people with dyslexia and dysgraphia. Maybe you prefer white on black because that actually improves the retention of information. But just for ease of you guys seeing it in the daylight, I'm going to leave it on that. I can break it down by syllables. I can turn on phrases to make it easier to read. I can have sound it out. I'm going to do it for the whole document. So I know that this A,
Ant.
channel, versus this A,
Sun.
it makes an sound. All right. I can break it down by parts of speech, and then everybody's favorite in District 75. 2 of these. Let's first show you the picture dictionary. Let's find a word. Box. There you go. So these are automatically inside of there. If you're using Google tools, yes, they have their own sort of read and write add-on, but it doesn't have nearly as much functionality as this. hey, if I'm working with multilingual learners, let's translate that to Portuguese. Let's read it.
Fique por dentro das coisas. Clique em atividade.
Or bring it on over to the original.
The box where you type message.
I'm going to share another screen with you right now so you can see what else is available for translation through Microsoft. So I'm going to stop this screen. I am going to share.
Hey, Sean, there's a couple questions in the chat when you want to get to those.
Sure, you can speak them to me out loud while I'm doing this.
Sure. So Alona said, is using code easier to incite members to team meeting, or is there any easier way to invite to multiple team meetings with different foci?
As I said, I think the easiest way is sending them that link, because if you send them that code and they're not very familiar with Teams, they have to know where to go in Teams, where to type in that code. If they have that familiarity, fine, you can send them codes to several teams, and then they could join each and every one of them. But
Okay.
I find the link easier for people because literally all they have to do is click on it and it automatically takes them there. It doesn't matter if they have the app downloaded. It doesn't matter if they're in the web or not. It'll automatically take them to that team and ask permission if they need to get into it. All right,
Cool.
Does that make sense? Sure.
Yeah, and then there's a couple more here from E. Foster.
Thumbs up. There is no thumbs up in the chat for Teams. There are those fun GIFs and everything, but no, not like Zoom. There is in this chat. You can give your reactions, but not built into Teams.
People are also.
And yes, you can upload any text to Immersive Reader. Basically, you saw I had any text in a document. That was just a regular document. All I did was copy and paste it from somewhere else. But I'm going to show you all the different places that can work in a minute. All right. So yes,
Okay.
I will dig deeper into Immersive Reader.
So a couple things, I think, so a couple questions, I think maybe on the, Leah, are you talking about here? How do you raise your hand here in Zoom or in Teams?
In Teams.
Yeah, there is no hand raise or thumbs up in Teams, only the
And
side chat.
wave.
Yeah, I
It's
was
not
thinking the
yeah,
same
or
thing.
waving your arms in the air.
And then somebody asked if you could show again where the Immersive Reader, how do we access Immersive Reader? And then another question.
I'm definitely going to spend a little more time on Immersive Reader and hop in there and show that one more time.
And then how do we find out and become included to different teams? It seems like there seems to be hundreds of teams.
Well, there are. And if you don't want to keep track of all that work and stuff, I wouldn't bother with it. I have more teams than I know what to do with half the time. There are a few that I'm going to recommend here at the end, and I'll try posting links in the chat. One that's specific to Google questions for the city, one that's specific for technology ones for the Spock chat for the city. So I am going to paste those links in at the end, and I'll also add them to the agenda, which I realized I didn't do. Suggested teams, which is a really good idea. Yeah, and I'll put those in there. I was going to show them off. But this, before I get to Immersive Reader and suggested teams, here is Microsoft's online translator, which I have found works better than Google's. Google's is word-for-word translation. This is more contextual, which works better. If you go to translator.microsoft.com, yes, I can do text. Yes, I can do applications and download it for PowerPoint. But right now, these conversation features are really great because what I can do is I can start a conversation. I go on in. And again, it doesn't like my microphone right now, so we're not going to play around with this too much. But I can either type a message or I can go ahead and turn on my microphone. If I'm in presenter mode, I can just turn it on and leave it on, and it'll start populating it. What other people can do is they'll put in their own native language with this code that's created that it gives them. This code here that I can copy and paste, they can just type in that 5-letter code. There's an app for phones and iPhones, but they don't even need the app. They can just go to that on the web, and it works too for parents or staff members who speak another language. And they will hear it if they want to. If they turn on their microphone, they can hear it in their own native language spoken to them. Mine is automatically going to be translated. And I can translate to 70 different people's native languages at the same time. So I can be speaking fully in English and somebody is receiving it in Chinese, another person is receiving it in Urdu. On that same note, I want to go to Microsoft Forms. And this is where I'm going to show you guys how you can also get into Immersive Reader again. Because Immersive Reader doesn't just exist in Teams. It doesn't just exist in Microsoft Word. Honestly, my favorite place for it is in OneNote, but that's a whole session unto itself. I'm going to go ahead and open up a Word document and a form from scratch, right? In this form, and I'm going to start a new one, give it any sort of name I want, test, or maybe this is a survey for parents or teachers or whomever. You guys generally understand how to add choices and questions. Welcome. What borough are you in? And I'm just going to put a couple options: Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx. And from here, I can go ahead and do something called branching. Now, before I get to branching, I'm going to go ahead and create a whole new section. And this will be the Queens section. Maybe I've got a list of choices here. What school? And maybe I copied and pasted from another spreadsheet. I got all the schools in Queens as all of the choices. So 721Q. For now, I'm just going to put 2 because we don't want to wait for that. And maybe I'm making it a drop-down menu so the person's only going to see one at a time. Here's what that branching does. And this can be used for differentiation too. If they choose Queens, go to Queens. If they choose something else, go to another section or end the form. So that's how I can create pathways of options for people so that they don't have to fill out entire forms. It can be a slightly more accessible document. But here I am. Yes, here's that same thing in the web version. It works inside of Word. It works inside of OneNote. It even works inside of your email. I can go ahead and view. I can click view. Let me zoom that in so you can see that a little better. Actually, let's zoom into the whole internet window like that. There you go. I click view. I click Immersive Reader. And I've suddenly got all those options. All my preset options are already in there. That's how I get into it inside of Word. That's how I get into it inside of Microsoft OneNote. It looks a little different inside of email. So I am going to show you one quickly there. Let's hope I don't have some weird emails from people. Sure, let's go to Karen Anderson's email. That'll be fun. All right, and as that opens up, I can go ahead and click on these 3 dots on the right, and there's something called advanced options. Or I can create rules. Wow, now I'm trying to find it. Where's my view button? More actions. And now, oh, here it is, view. There it is. View, show in Immersive Reader. So now I have Karen Anderson's email to me. If I was a struggling reader and I needed to know in picture symbols what that was, I have access to it from my email. Right. I don't think most of you guys require that from your emails, but it is available wholly there too. So let me pop back over, stop sharing this screen. I'm going to go right back to Teams for a moment and share my Teams screen. There it is. And share. All right. And here we are. So the little piece I want to show you here at the end of team, we figured out while we're in a team, yes, I've got these tabs to keep track of stuff at this top. Yes, I have channels on the side for breakout conversations. I can even add more apps up here, including, where's it at? Now I don't see it. Oh, Planner, that's what it is. planner. All right, there it goes. Oh, this is going very, very slowly. Create a new plan. Maybe this is remote learning work. Maybe for this particular team, let's imagine that I am the head honcho and I am assigning tasks to different people. So if I want Lotar to check my links and make sure that they work for these sessions, and I'll assign that to him. That will now be his job. I promise I'll delete this so you don't have to have that task. And then I can add that task, set due dates, and we'll all be getting reminders for these. That's what comes up in these activity feeds that makes it easy to keep track of everything that's going on in all our different teams. Because if you really want to get somebody's attention inside of that team, let's go back to that test team. The best way to do it is to @ them. So I can @ Lotar. I can @ let's head over to this one. @ a channel, a whole channel of people, or I can go ahead and @ the whole team. And I just go @ team. And that will automatically send emails and things to people letting them know, hey, there's information that you need to find here. The only way it wouldn't is if that person was getting overwhelmed and they clicked up here on the top right on their face and they went into their settings. So if any of you are getting overwhelmed, you can go to this notifications area and say what kind of things you want turned off, like I do, so I'm not getting messages all night long. And that's going to be one of your favorite things so you don't go crazy. But if you want to find teams, if they're public teams, a lot of them are available here. I am going to share links to a couple that I think are worthwhile. For example, this Google Classroom Online Support Team, which was only recently created, but now has thousands of members to get people help throughout the city for classroom support. Angelo and I had created a team for professional development planning. So maybe next year, instead of sitting around at a table screaming at each other, we can go ahead and decide how we're going to go ahead and plan. There's also a team specific for SPOCs. And if you don't know what that means, that's single point of contact. That's the tech people. So I'm going to share those links later on in the agenda, and I'll make sure I add them there. But in addition to all the things inside of Teams, there are 2 other places you can go to start interacting and creating things. One is in your chats. These are private messages, and it doesn't mean just private with one person. So I can have a message where I'm messaging just Lotar and Era together, and I don't think we've ever been a group together, and I can be like, I hope this works just for those people. And this is outside of a team, but just like in a team, I can still do those video calls and phone calls to individual numbers. I'm going to show how we do that inside of the team itself in just a second. But the other place you can do those is inside of the calendar. So on a calendar, I can go ahead and schedule a new meeting or a live event. These are if especially you want video chats. They don't have to be, they can just be a regular meeting. But scheduling a meeting will make a video chat in the standard way. Let's just say today's meet. And I noted there are people who started to learn and play with this and created ones, and they added repeats where it was every day. And suddenly all these people that they didn't intend to were getting all these messages for meetings that weren't real ones, that were never intended. I've gotten a few of those. But nobody's going to get this as a virtual meeting space the way we're doing unless you add at least one attendee. So I'll go ahead and add Lotar. I'll send that out. So now if I go back into that today's meeting, I'll see I've got those links that I can go ahead and share and send and email out to people. The one difference is if you're doing a live event, it works a little differently. A live event lets you present to up to 10,000 people, but none of them have video access. None of them can speak through their microphones. They only have access to the chat. If you're scheduling a regular meeting here, all the other people should have access to those things. They should even have access to the chat. The one time that they wouldn't is here if I'm creating a one of those meetings using this little camera button at the bottom of my team, inside of the team. and I'm going to schedule a meeting for that. Maybe also invite Lothar to that. You're very popular, Lothar. You're invited to everything.
Yeah. And I'm already in Teams, but I can't.
So what's going to happen here is it's going to generate that same thing. When I go out of here, you'll see those same links. The difference being is that if I'm doing it inside of a team, only people inside of that team will have access to the chat. Only people inside of that team will have access to the recording if we recorded it, because there's certain privacy settings for that team. So if you want that privacy and you want to tap into the people and the conversations that are already happening in a given team, definitely create it there. But if you want it to be more broadly open, I highly recommend that you create those meetings inside of a calendar. All right. And then I want to share one last little piece here with you. So I linked to several things, including some DOE training. Microsoft Education website, education.microsoft.com, has tons of amazing trainings built into their videos, ongoing ones for you to learn about it. I put this code here for you guys now, and I'm going, let me type that into the chat area. That particular code, actually, if you go in there, is going to help you earn some of your first badges inside of Microsoft Educator site. So you'll already
can do it.
Nazi. Oh, thank you, Lothar. And that as well is linked from the agenda, which I am linking here too. Sweet. But beyond that, this is one last piece I wanted to show. Those learning tools, that Microsoft Immersive Reader, it works, and the features of it work across, these are all the Microsoft places it works across. So yes, it works in the whiteboard too. Yes, it works in Minecraft Education Edition, or just straight up in the Edge browser, or in Flipgrid. But it also works in places like Nearpod and Wakelet, because they've made it widely and broadly available for all sorts of other people. You can find all about this by the link. I've shared this also in the agenda, so you can find it there. All the places those accessibility features are available. And other than that, here is that. Oh, like I said, Microsoft has a ton of accessibility built right in. We're not talking about device-specific ones, but they have that too. But if you're presenters, if you're sharing things with schools, teachers, students, parents, definitely use that accessibility checker throughout your documents. Make sure that you're making them accessible. There are some sessions actually that the city is holding specifically on those that I'm helping with. Definitely make your parents and students aware of those translation and immersive readers features so that they can access in their own way whatever it is they need from you. And inside of those Google Forms, it has built-in translation for multiple languages. So you can have it set up so it automatically translates. If parents just click up at the top and choose their language, it'll translate into into German, into Chinese, into Spanish, whatever you want. All right. If there aren't any other questions, though, I hope this was helpful, and everybody have an awesome day.